Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of This Is My Life. You're probably going to hear in the background my TV, which has rain and thunder on it, but that's to help me with my insomnia. So if you hear something that sounds like static, it's my TV. So in my last episode of This Is My Life, I was talking about my first husband and what I went through with my first husband. So this episode, I want to talk about mental health. There's a trigger warning on this. So if you are easily triggered by anything that has to do with mental health, anything that has to do with an ED, this episode is not for you. So after I dropped my husband off at the Greyhound station and time went on, I started to get sick. Because it was hitting me. What I had went through, and I was just drained. I had never had problems with my mental health or anything to this extreme, and this was something that was scary for me, and I didn't understand it at all. I was getting to the point that I was throwing up. Whenever I ate, I threw it up. I was losing weight because I couldn't keep any food down. I could not sleep at all. That is when my insomnia problem started, was back in 2009. I couldn't sleep at all. I would stay wide awake, and in the morning I'd take care of my children. I would push my body to the limit and take care of my kids because my kids came first. It got to the point that I was having panic attacks and I didn't understand them. Heart palpitations, didn't understand it at all. I was still throwing up. So at that point, I was bulimic. I would eat and I would throw up. Not because I wanted to, it's because my body was rejecting food. That's how bad my mental health was. Then I got to the point that I started listening to my brain, and my brain was saying, hey, why are you eating if you're just going to throw it up? And that's when I became anorexic. In a month and 2 weeks, so a month and a half, I lost 60 some odd pounds. I was like a skeleton. I could barely lift up my oldest daughter's school backpack. It felt like a ton of bricks. My mental health had gotten that bad. And to look back at what I dealt with during that whole breakdown that I had, I can't believe I even lived through it. One day, I just fell to my knees, sat up against the wall, started crying. Just crying, and crying because I didn't understand what the hell was going on with me. I couldn't lift things. I couldn't even lift my son. He was just a little over a year old. I couldn't lift any of my children. I couldn't even lift a backpack without it feeling like it was a ton of bricks. And this is all because of everything came crashing down on me of what I had dealt with. And the abuse that I dealt with, the trauma. I ended up in the hospital, and they put me on medication to calm me down. And they told me if I didn't start eating, I would have to go inpatient, and then I would end up having a feeding tube. So when I got home, I started to slowly eat. I would eat a little bit of a cracker, keep that down. I would make sure I was drinking fluids. That way, if I did throw up, I wasn't dry heaving. Then after, being able to keep crackers down, I would add, a spoonful of applesauce in there with a cracker. And I did that. Eventually I was able to eat. I started off with meal replacement shakes to get me to get the nutrients that I needed. Eventually I began to eat again. And I wasn't able to eat like big meals. I couldn't have my big plate of spaghetti like I always love. And then I ended up in mental health. I ended up put on medication to help me with what I was coping with. And that started the downward spiral of my mental health problems. So if you know someone or yourself is being abused, gaslighted, manipulated, brainwashed, get help. Get help, because nobody needs to be in that situation. My children had to watch me deteriorate because my mental health got so bad from what I had dealt with. I am lucky to be alive today. But I was so brainwashed, I didn't ask for help until it was too late. But I am so glad he is no longer in my life. And I'm so glad I have not laid eyes upon him since the day I dropped him off at the Greyhound station. I never will be caught having an ED again. I will never let my mental health get that bad again, to the point that I'm deteriorating. When it comes to dieting, because I do need to lose some weight, I won't count calories. I will not count calories. I don't limit what I'm supposed to be eating. I just eat a little healthier. So I'm going to be working on losing some weight, but I'm going to do it the right way. Because I know that if I do it the wrong way, I will put myself back in a situation I don't want to be in. Even though the ED that I had before was not because I wanted to lose weight, the body can be triggered to believe that's what you want. Mental health problems, it's not a joke. They're invisible disabilities, invisible diseases that people have. You can't always tell when somebody has a mental health problem. I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with panic disorder, struggle with insomnia. Does it look like I do? No. No. Because we can hide it so people don't worry about us, because that's what we don't want. We don't want people worrying about us. But I'm glad that somebody did worry about me when I had my breakdown. So if you know somebody that's struggling with their mental health, or you yourself are struggling with your mental health, get help. Get help. That's all I gotta say. Get help before it goes too far. And the whole stigma around mental health needs to just take the nearest hike somewhere. All right, so I'm going to let y'all go. And I'm going to try to get some sleep because I have a big day ahead of me tomorrow. So, bye for now.